Good morning. This is County Judge Bob Hebert, Fort Bend County, talking today about questions that we're receiving that we think the responses would be of interest to a broader audience than just the person calling. So I'm going to go through these questions and give you the best answer I've got right now, and I hope it helps y'all understand what's going on. First, before I get into that, we have crested. The river has crested and is now dropping. It's crested about 55.18 and it's now down to 55.10. That's a definite drop in elevation of the river. So we have a defined inundation area now. It's not going to get bigger, it will get smaller. So be aware that you can travel freely in the county as long as it's dry. But check our road closure map, because we will be taking those closures off as the water clears. But there are a lot of roads, a lot of our major thoroughfare system and highway system in the county is underwater. So if you do have to move out there, drive with caution. The other thing is, now that we have a defined inundation area, we'll be working continuously now to remove the mandatory evacuation order as quickly as we can. When an area clears of water and is safe to enter, we're going to take that order off. So pay attention if you moved out in response to the evacuation order. Watch closely, because your area may be released, maybe sooner, maybe later. It's going to depend on how the water goes down. But that's good news. We're starting to dry out, and hopefully we will get that river back in its boundaries in the next 2 or 3 days, and we can then get well into our recovery. Now to questions. Curfew. We have a curfew in the county from 12:01 a.m. to 6 a.m. I know people have to move around from time to time. You may be stopped if you have a legitimate purpose for being out. The officer is going to let you go on your way and tell you to return home as soon as possible. There is a curfew, or tell you to stay put when you get wherever you're going, because there's a curfew. The curfew, though, order, we have a lot of areas where homes have been evacuated, and as the water goes down, I want you to understand the bad guys will get in there and sometimes quicker than the homeowners can get back in there, because they're going to ignore all the rules. The curfew order gives our peace officers the right to stop anybody driving between 12:01 and 6 a.m. and ask them where they're going. And you may be stopped, but if you have a legitimate purpose for being out there, you'll be sent on your way. But remember this: they're probably not going to stop you if you're driving on a highway like 59 or Highway 6. You're driving at highway speed and you seem to be passing through the area. They're going to stop folks that are driving in what they feel may be a suspicious manner. If you're shooting photographs of damage at 2 a.m. driving 10 to 12 miles an hour through a subdivision with a lot of empty homes, you are going to get pulled over, and they are going to ask you what you're doing, and if you can't explain it, you may get a ride to the jailhouse. That's who we're looking for right now. We can pretty well cover the area during the day. At night, the curfew gives us additional authority to protect the citizens out there. Next question. What does it mean to be unincorporated? Well, that sounds like not appropriate, but it's a very good question, because a lot of folks don't know. Areas within the limits of a functioning city are in an incorporated area, and the city makes a lot of decisions that we don't have to make. Any area that is not within the city limits of a city is unincorporated, and that means the services, you come to them directly through the county, and perhaps through a special district, one or two, of ESD or an MUD, or a LID. These special districts all have a purpose, but there is no city council, city manager structure there collecting taxes and funding local police and fire, etc. It's done in an unincorporated manner using those state laws that are available to help folks in the unincorporated area achieve these services. So most of our county is unincorporated, obviously, but unlike some of the other large counties, most of our population lives in the unincorporated county too. So Cinco Ranch, Sienna Plantation, New Territory, Greatwood, you name it, those folks are all in the unincorporated area of the county. So it's a vast area and a vast population. Very close to 500,000 of our 760,000 folks live in the unincorporated county. Now, okay, what if I need to travel to work during a curfew? Travel to work. The curfew is not intended to keep you from getting to work, but make sure you can get to work safely. That will be easier now because we don't anticipate any additional road closures. We anticipate those roads to slowly start opening up. But make sure you have a safe route. Drive at the speed limit so you don't attract a peace officer's attention, and go where you're going. And you probably won't be stopped. If you are stopped, you tell them where you're going, and there may be an officer that wants to delay you for some reason or another, but the 99.9% of them, if you give them straightforward, honest answers, they're convinced you're headed to work, they're going to let you continue to head to work even if you're traveling at 5 a.m. in the morning. How do I know if I'm eligible for FEMA recovery assistance? Another real good question. If you've suffered property loss or damage in a presidentially declared disaster area, you are eligible for FEMA assistance. Fort Bend County in its entirety is a presidential declared emergency. We were included in his declaration along with many other counties in Texas in response to Harvey's as a hurricane, Harvey as a rain event. So you are eligible if you have any property damage. You are eligible for assistance. How do I get FEMA assistance? You may register now for FEMA assistance over the phone or online. We've already done the things the county needs to do to trigger the ability for our citizens to register. Now, if you go online, it's www.disasterassistance.gov. That's gov.gov. Disaster assistance runs together with no spaces. That'll get you to the FEMA's information page with instructions and guidance and advice and frequently answered questions on their program. I urge you to take advantage of that even if you're not ready to do the paperwork. Go to that website and review the information they provide there on how it will work when you're ready to submit. You can also do it by phone at 1-800-621-FEMA. Or that's 1-800-621-3362. So if you just remember at 1-800-621-FEMA, that will get you to their hotline for disaster assistance. They have a very large phone bank and they can handle calls, but remember, this disaster stretches from Corpus Christi, areas west of Corpus Christi, all the way to the Sabine River. So there are going to be a lot of people trying to get in. Generally, if you're comfortable using the internet, you'll get faster submission by using the internet to do your paperwork, and you'll answer almost all the questions you might have on the internet when you look at their guidance. How do I volunteer? Well, at the shelters that we have open, and we're closing those rather rapidly. The number of folks we have in the county is withdrawing as we got a better feel for the defined nature of the high water, and many of the evacuees were evacuating from the rain event, and the rain event has continued to drain, and most of those areas are open, with the sole exception of the rain behind A couple of our levee systems, they got inundated. They're still pumping, and there's probably water in the streets. And the Barker Reservoir, that's a reaction to the rain event, is that stormwater runoff runs into the reservoir. But with those two exceptions, most of the areas that flooded from the recent downpours are clear. And if because of that, folks are leaving the shelters and going back to their homes. They want to get home as quickly as they can, and I don't blame them. I'd be the same way. Probably the shelters, if you have one in your area you can get to, you can drop by and see if they need help. If they need help, they'll certainly take somebody who's willing to work. But if you want to be used as a volunteer, you need to register at volunteerhouston.org. That's Volunteer Houston, one word, no spaces, at .org. And you can put your name and contact information in there, and then you're a registered volunteer. And during these emergencies, they will send out bulletins advising you where you might be needed. And they have a process by which you can let them know you're going somewhere to volunteer in response to that request. I'm sure with the wide area here, it wouldn't hurt if you really want to volunteer now. We still have an ongoing emergency for several more days, and then we have a large recovery effort after that. So if you get registered, I wouldn't be surprised if you're not called out to give relief to some folks that are approaching exhaustion because they've been doing it for days. And that would be very helpful. Question: how can I help those that have been affected by Harvey? Well, if you want to donate food, clothing, bedding, that you can do that at any number of our regular charities that are open, like Second Mile, our food pantries, but there have also been a drop-off for bottled water and non-perishable foods at Kingdom Church in Rosenberg and Navarro Middle School in Rosenberg, and we assume there's some others in the county too. So we're making a search right now to determine what the universal drop-off areas is within the county, and we'll be pushing that information out on our EOC website. That site is www.fbcoem.org. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. I get orgs and govs and coms confused sometimes. www.fbcoem.org. And we'll be pushing that information out as we gather it. So you can just go to that site and hopefully find a place that you can drop off more convenient to where you are. And that's the last of the questions I have right now. Stay safe. There's a lot of water out there, but it looks like we've peaked, and we're going to rapidly enter the recovery phase, and that's very good news for everybody. God bless you.